Today's show examines another critical aspect of the right to life movement, the recent expansion of the highly controversial buffer zone outside of abortion clinics from a floating 18 feet where you could come within 6 feet of a person to a 35-foot radius buffer zone and much more restrictive rules. To quickly understand the magnitude of the buffer zone expansion in late 2007, pregnancy sidewalk counselors helped save 90 babies from certain death inside the abortion mills in the Boston area last year. This new Massachusetts buffer zone is being contested by the Alliance Defense Fund in a lawsuit filed January 19, 2008. The Alliance Defense Fund contends the law eliminates free speech rights within the zone by restricting pro-life advocates from sharing their message with people entering the abortion clinics. Today's guest will give an historical perspective of how the buffer zone came to be and what this ADF lawsuit is all about. I confidently believe you'll find today's show to be unique, informative, content-rich, truthful, and thought-provoking. Our guest today was born and raised in Lynn, Massachusetts. He graduated from the College of the Holy Cross in 1958. He earned a master's degree in education from Salem State in 1961. He subsequently was confirmed a law degree at Suffolk University in 1968. His pro-life credentials are prolific and impressive. He has been the Massachusetts Director of the National Right to Life Committee, the Treasurer and President of Mass Citizens for Life, and for the last 10 years, the President of the Pro-Life Legal Defense Fund of Massachusetts. He's so pro-life that he's given 116 pints of his own blood to the American Red Cross so that others could live. Well, welcome, Attorney Phil Moran.
Welcome, Brenda. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on the show today.
My pleasure.
Before we get started, I'd just like to mention the call-in phone number. Should our viewing audience have any questions for our guest about the effects of pro-life legislation, the number is 617-708-3290. Well, Phil, can you tell us a little bit about, from a historical perspective, what has gone on with the buffer zone legislation, where it came from and where it is today?
The original buffer zone, which was in effect until November of this year, actually was filed and legislatively back in 2000. And in 2000, there was an 18-foot buffer zone with a 6-foot floating zone within that, which meant that there was a radius of 18 feet from the front entrance or rear exit of a buffer zone of an abortion clinic. And again, remember, it's only clinics. This does not apply to hospitals where abortions are performed. And but within that 18-foot buffer zone, there was a floating 6-foot zone, which complied with the then existing Supreme Court of the United States decisions in a very case known as the Hill versus Colorado. And I believe the legislature at the time, drafted the legislation so that it would comply with that case. But that meant that, for example, the plaintiffs in our existing case today, Jean Zarella and Eleanor McCullen and others, could walk up to someone within 6 feet and engage in peaceful conversation. They could hand them literature from a secular or religious point of view as to what other choices the woman had as opposed to getting an abortion. They could talk to the person who was escorting the woman, and they could do this in a friendly way. And as you said, just last year alone, by doing this within a peaceful manner, friendly manner, educational manner, they were able to save 90 unborn children from being aborted, which is incredible. I think it's marvelous. The latest bill, which was passed on November 13th, was actually signed into law by Governor Deval Patrick on November 13th of this year with an emergency preamble, puts a 35-foot buffer zone around the abortion clinics, and it's just there is no way to get inside that 35 feet. Now, for example, at the Alston-Brighton Planned Parenthood Clinic, which is down on Commonwealth Avenue and is near BU, the sidewalk is such that it comes out to, I believe it's like 37 feet wide, so that if you have a 35-foot buffer zone, which is actually painted on the sidewalk at that place, these people, the plaintiffs, the people who go out every Saturday morning or every day actually when the clinic is open, and these heroes of the pro-life movement, they can't get within they can only stand on the last 2 feet of the sidewalk, which means that if you are escorting a woman into that 35-foot buffer zone, they're going to have to yell And this is not conducive to convincing someone who's on their way to have an abortion that maybe they ought to reconsider their position. It's just totally unconstitutional, because the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution give one the right to expressive advocacy on a public in a public forum, and a sidewalk and a street has been a public forum under the laws of the United States since even before the United States was formed. It's amazing what they're doing.
Well, let me ask you, well, how is it that a private enterprise like a Planned Parenthood can all of a sudden take over a public domain, the sidewalks?
Well, Planned Parenthood technically didn't do it, but the legislature on their behalf has effectively privatized public sidewalks and public streets, and this is one of our arguments before the Federal District Court here in Boston that makes this, we believe, makes this law unconstitutional.
Well, the First Amendment is about free speech. What is the 14th Amendment about?
Well, the 14th Amendment, the appropriate free. Actually, the First Amendment is more than free speech. The first.
Maybe you could read it.
Sure. The amendment, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, says as follows: that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So in this case, we believe that this particular law prohibits the free exercise of religion, because these people, many of them are out there because, according to their religious beliefs, the induced abortion is nothing more than the killing of unborn children, and they believe that's a violation of their religious rights. It also abridges the freedom of speech, because now these people are not allowed to go up and engage in conversation on a public sidewalk with a person who is about to go into an abortion clinic and kill their unborn child. And they also, it's a violation of the freedom of press, because many of these sidewalk counselors have both secular and religious pamphlets which educate the woman as to what an abortion actually is. And so by preventing me from going up to you and handing you this particular information, that's an abridgment of the freedom of press. And also, it's an abridgment of the right of the people to peacefully assemble. For example, a street person can no longer come down the street and sit on the sidewalk in front of the abortion clinic because that's a violation. He's not an exempt person under the law, and so therefore those people cannot do it. The Girl Scouts cannot go down and sell cookies in front of the abortion clinic. A labor organizer cannot go down and organize the people within there. An environmental person cannot go down there and start talking about green things. It's just the law is draconian in its effect, and it's way beyond what is necessary to protect the public.
Well, we've been railing against the recent legislators up there on Beacon Hill, and last year it seemed like it went through very swiftly, both houses, and they were saying how violent all these people are. Now, how old are some of these people that they're so violent that they...
Well, Eleanor McCullen is 71 years old. She's a mother and a grandmother. She's never been arrested. Jean Zarella is an 81-year-old mother and grandmother. She's never been arrested. Gregory Smith is 74 years old, and he stands there and prays the rosary, has a crucifix, and he's never been arrested. Carmel Farrell, I believe, is 61 years old, and she is also a mother and a grandmother. She's never been arrested. Eric Caden is a 27-year-old Harvard pre-med student who goes over there and explains from his own perspective as a medical student as to what these women are going to do to their unborn child. He's never been arrested. So none of these people have ever been arrested. They're very peaceful. Everything they do is peaceful. And this is one of our other arguments, is that the